We have to realize we have to change the story.
Yep.
Changing the story and what you tell yourself then changes your reality. And
Yep.
it's so counterintuitive by the way that we've been trained
Yep.
and how we've lived our lives up to this point. But it's certainly a place where when you choose that, so you're saying that you're suffering because of the money in your life, with a lack thereof or not enough space. Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Work Life. Why? Because there are so many of us who are so unhappy in where we spend the majority of our time, and that's in our workspace. And it's time for us all to be super happy with that part of our lives. Yes, I did say the word job and work and happy in the exact same statement. And Karyn's going to help us do that. Hi, Karyn.
Hi. How are we this week? You know, we got to dance into the session.
We do. We have to add some liveliness.
Yeah.
Me,
We
my
need
bun.
a little bit. We need a little bit of that, right?
We do. Like, I just have found that so many people right now feel beat up.
Yeah.
Like they just feel like, oh, what is next? And it's like, we only feel that way when we're not creating our happiness from the inside out and we're not living authentically.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's why we're here, to help people kind of get through this, because today's a big day change here in the United States. Whether you like it or dislike it, no matter, it's still changing. Right?
Still changing.
Likes or dislikes. But this is about, regardless of that,
Yeah.
choose happy.
Yeah. And it's also like there's an opportunity to be perpetually inquisitive.
Ooh, I like that.
And what I mean by that is...
Sounds kinky.
I wish it was that, but it's not. I guess it could be. But
no COVID.
Oh, thank you, Cammie.
Oh, can I have one?
Yeah, you want some? Yeah, the reason why I say that is because if we don't examine the things that are coming in that make us feel uneasy or uncomfortable or that we don't like, then how could we ever take action?
You can't.
Like that, if you don't ask the questions, it is a recipe for stewing in your own distress, right? Like,
well, you
so,
do. You do.
Yeah. So if you feel like if you don't like something, you have to ask yourself, what would I prefer? Like, I don't like this. I want it to be different. You can't wait for somebody else outside to bring you your solution.
Right.
Like, you really have to ask yourself. And that's one, it's a discipline, but two, it keeps you in your power.
Totally keeps you in your
right?
power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's like, are you ready for a change? Okay. Well, what do you really want? And then what might that look like? And also, what stands in your way? And what's the number one thing you think that people say if you ask them what stands in their way?
Money. I don't have the money to change. I have to pay my bills. I can't change my job.
Yeah, you want to tell them? Let's talk to them about that, Julie. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, silly goose. That's what I have to say about it, because why would you let money block you from happiness? And people say, well, I'm just not happy in the money. But we have to realize we have to change the story.
Yep.
Changing the story and what you tell yourself then changes your reality. Yep. And it's so counterintuitive by the way that we've been trained. Yep. And how we've lived our lives up to this point. But it's certainly a place where when you choose that, so you're saying that you're suffering because of the money in your life, with a lack thereof or not enough space. I've helped a lot of people walk across a lot of bridges to the life that they want to create, and you just take one step at a time. But if you're telling yourself you're not doing it because of that, well, then that then becomes your reality.
Yeah.
So
I want
right?
people to hear that. If you're hearing and believing that that's why you're not doing it, you are making it so.
I know. And that's a tough one to wrap the noodle around. But it's so true, because what you think, what you speak, and what you feel then becomes your reality, because you are the creator of your life. All the good, all the bad, all the in between, you
Yeah.
participated in the creation of that. So, for an
Right.
example, like, it was really, really hard for me to, back in the day, I worked for an insurance company. And it was like I put up with a compensation plan that I had to work like 80-hour weeks to do the right thing for people and satisfy my employment contract, because they wanted me to sell everybody insurance. Well, we know how everybody loves insurance sales.
Oh yeah. Can't wait to buy that. Can't wait to burn my money is what it feels like.
I would walk into parties and I'd be like, hey, and everyone would be talking like, well, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I'm a financial planner. And they'd be like, oh. And they would just walk somewhere else. I'm like, I'm really a nice person, I promise. I couldn't understand the stigma. And it was because then when I spent a few years trying to satisfy my employment contract and do the right thing for people, and I was having to work 80 hours a week to do that, because I refused to sell insurance to somebody who didn't actually truly need it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to sell them. They actually had a need, and I filled the need. But I had
Right.
to meet a ton of people to find that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It became a numbers game,
right.
right? Like the people are out there, but I got to sift through to the ones who really need it. Yeah.
Right. As
Completely.
opposed to sell everybody everything.
Yeah.
And this is why people have this bad taste in their mouth about financial people, particularly insurance people.
Yeah.
Because there's been this push energy to push people into stuff that they don't really internalize, and then you buy a product that may or may not align with what your desires are for you and your family. And so we all have our story of that, right? Of what is working or not working. And so I just think it's important to recognize the fact that, you know what? I realized that I didn't want to work 80-hour weeks anymore. And I realized that I really wanted to help people holistically. It made me start to realize, it was way before it was coined in my industry, that I really wanted to help people with life planning.
Yeah. Which is not
financial planning.
Yeah. Which is not something that is typically talked about.
Yeah. Back in 2003, I started charging just like a consulting fee to do financial planning. And nobody did that. In my industry, everyone had to sell you a product to be paid. And I was like, well, I don't want to have to sell you something every time I want to call and say hi, just to see how you are and check in with you. But the system was set up so that you couldn't do that. So I just started charging people for my time and said, you know what, pay me a fee once a year. And it's a maintenance thing. So that it was way before like subscriptions came into being. Like,
yeah,
you pay for a subscription to Orange Theory, so you can go anytime you want, but it's a monthly fee, you know? And I literally did that back in 2003 for financial planning. And still to this day, most of the industry is still not there, but all the consultants are telling financial planners all to change to that. But there's a huge resistance to change, because there's still this push that I have to sell you something to talk to you.
Yeah.
And so
it's a much
I bring that up for people to realize that you have to decide who you are and how you want to represent yourself in the world, no matter what your career looks like. There's a way to apply you to what you love to do and make a ton of money doing it.
Yeah. And it does require kind of upending the apple cart, but I would ask anybody who's listening to like consider if they're feeling anything as a result of this conversation? Like, is there a little resonance on the inside? Is there a part of you that wants to believe what we're saying? Is there a part of you that is
Right.
saying, like, yeah, I can kind of get with that, like that makes sense, or that's something that I want? I encourage you to do a couple things. Keep coming back, send
Right.
us notes, come on live,
Yeah, we
but
want to
don't,
help you guys. We don't want to be here just talking to ourselves. We want to help you guys.
yeah, just, and don't just sit in it, which is why I keep going back to that perpetual inquiry. It's like you need to know what you would prefer.
Right.
And then one of Julie's primary actions is choose. You got to
Right.
decide and choose, right? And it's not until you have a clarity of your own vision or intentionality that you can take action that really moves you towards what you think you want.
Totally.
So in your work life, listen, we spend so much time. I don't have a good stat right now. I've had it in the past, but we spend the majority of our lives working.
Right.
You deserve to be in the place that actually feeds you while you're feeding,
Soul.
serving others.
You have
What does that look like? And you can write that down and you can explore it. No one ever has to see it. Shh.
put it up on the
Your,
fridge.
your secret initially, right? But at least be in a truth space with yourself. Like, what would I really rather be doing? And don't worry about if it looks like something that you've never been trained to do, because there's probably a way to take whatever your experience is and navigate it into the industry. Like every industry has some of the same structure,
Right.
right? There are financial people, there are sales people, there are researchers, there are marketing people, there are general managers, there are teams in manufacturing, like every industry.
Aspect. Yep.
Every industry. So no matter what it is that you feel like you've been trained to do, you can get closer to the thing you want to do, just even using your historical experience to get you in the door. Start there.
Right.
Start there. Maybe you've always wanted to be a singer, but you've been trained as an attorney. Well, you know what I'm going to say. How can you get into the industry through law first? How
Right.
can you start to build relationships and meet people? Understand the nature of even agenting, like writing contracts for people,
Right.
whether it's for the venues or for the actual artists.
I love where you're going with that because, so many people be like, oh my God, you're like a marriage counselor. This is like financial therapy. And I'm like, it is. And I'm like, I just love helping people get to the place that they desire to be. And you have to go through gunked up emotions that are stuck inside because people come to the table with all their conditioning from their childhoods. And so if you're a couple, well then you've got two people and then you're trying to find what the new shtick is, right? And when you then apply and you say like, oh yeah, I'm like a marriage counselor for finance, but yet I'm a teacher, and I integrated that into finance. I've even been coined at one point like a financial healer, and it's like there are aspects. I love how you said that. Like, if you want to be a singer, well, then go. Like, I coached one of my employees. He really wanted to become. He's like a baseball nut, a sport nut, like nut. And I go, is there a reason why you just don't build your business around professional sports players? Then he was like, I can do that. I'm like, why not? It's more competitive and it's a bigger space, but you like sleep, eat, and breathe professional sports.
Yeah, when I talk to people about their soul code, I talk about the fact that there are things that we've been born with inherently, part of our DNA, call it your spiritual DNA. And the things that you love are meant to be actively part of how you serve on a daily basis. They're meant to be activated, whether it's in your own business or whether it's working for somebody else. And often as children, especially at this point in humanity, like the timeline of humanity, we are only now really becoming used to people being in a gig economy or people doing what they really like what they want to do. For so long, it was all about being part of the industrial complex, right? Like you followed this path and everybody who was successful had to go through this chute first.
Right.
High school, college, maybe graduate school, into one of these major industries, right? It's not that way anymore, which is a blessing. But you have to take a look at what really speaks to you. Like if you want to be an ultimate success, like if success is part of your nature and what you feel is important, like I want to be really good at this. And you got to be really good at the thing that's calling you to be good.
I know. And so that you can also giggle along the way. Like so many people, like I before I wrote my first book, The Emotion Behind Money, I would drive down Randolph Street here in Chicago, and I would see all these people getting off the train every day.
Did they look like this?
They look like their faces were kicked in, like they were miserable looking on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hell, if that's ever going to be my life. Like because then all that happens when you're in your early 60s then is you turn into the crotchety old person that no one wants to work with anyway, because for 20 years you've been doing something you don't want to do anymore because it's not feeding your heart and soul, but you're doing it for the paycheck. It's like stop getting ready to get ready. You know what? You are primed for this change. You've known it for a long time that something's got to shift.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage each of you to like love yourself enough to decide that, yep, I'm going to change.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because it will show up the minute you crack that open, like we were talking about earlier, the minute you shift, then all of a sudden everything else can shift because it's all energetically tied.
Yeah. And sometimes all you have to do, there's another Judaism, is decide. Like it's not these major actions or activities. It can be like really subtle shifts.
Totally.
Like it goes from the idea and it drops into the heart and acceptance here. There's an acceptance that has to happen here in order for it to get processed through to really, it's like the idea comes in here, you start to see it, you start to talk about it, you give it a heartbeat. But there's so much that gets clogged between the bright idea and actually the thing getting a heartbeat, right? It often gets stuck here.
Oh, yeah. That's why you got to sing at the top of your lungs around your house.
And then look, for women, it never makes its way down to the womb. It never gets nurtured, and then it can't be birthed, right? It doesn't get there.
Because we stay up here and then we talk to all of our friends about it and we and it can't land because you're keeping up here.
Yeah. And energetically, the universe can't differentiate. And your subconscious is not differentiating between you just talking about it and actually creating it.
Yep. Totally true. It's beautiful. So change is here, everybody. Come here. Let us help you because we will support you in that change for you to get to that next right step.
Yeah.
We're here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. And we're here to help. Any other last minute tidbits popping in, Miss Karyn?
No, not today. I just want to wish everybody a fresh start.
Yeah.
Just a fresh start.
It is.
And so it is.
Thanks, everybody. Have the best week ever.
See you next week.
Bye.